Hey there. Since early July, we've had a configuration in the sky called a Kala Sarpa Yoga, which means all the planets are between the nodes. They're between Rahu and Ketu in the sky. It's been since early July because that's when Jupiter actually went to a higher longitude than Ketu, the south node. And it's going to stay that way until early November, when Mars actually breaks out of the Kala Sarpa Yoga and moves into Sagittarius. You could say that it happens maybe about a month earlier when Mars actually passes Rahu in the sky, but regardless, right now, and since early July, we've been in this kind of, it's this sort of symptoms of the Kala Sarpa Yoga is there's just a lot of kind of sort of subconscious processing going on. You might not, things that you might not feel are so present in your consciousness are just kind of rumbling quite a lot right now. I know that sounds very vague, and it's the kind of astrological stuff I try not to say very often. But Kala Sarpa Yoga really, all the planets are between the nodes, and in this case they're between Rahu and Ketu because the nodes go backwards. So we have, Rahu in Scorpio going back towards Ketu in Taurus, and all the planets are in between that, in between those two, in that direction. There are no planets on the other side of that, at least for half of the month, because the moon breaks outside the Kala Sarpa Yoga, because the moon goes all the way around the zodiac. So half the time the moon is also in there, in that sort of corridor, which is where it is now, because it's in sidereal Libra, and it's also, the moon has joined Saturn and Mars right now, which is pretty heavy. I'm recording this on August 21st, Tuesday, August 21st, and there's a really close moon-Saturn conjunction, and Mars is not far behind, so there's quite a bit of just sort of, well, for one thing, if you might find you're sleeping a lot. This kind of, I find that this is a big thing to do with the nodes, and it's in some ways kind of a healthy quality of the nodes is to kind of activate a sort of psychic dream state, and especially since there's a lot of Ketu energy right now. The Sun just moved into Magha, which is ruled by Ketu, and Jupiter is very close to Ketu in the sky. I mean, it's separating aspect. It's not very close right now, but it's joined Ketu. And Jupiter, it's a long-term transit. So Ketu is really about resolving the past. We can get into past lives and say all that. That's, you could say that, but instead of getting into past lives, we can stick with this lifetime and look at Ketu as resolving past issues in this lifetime, which have to do with things related to our childhood and family, perhaps, and even issues with with other people in this lifetime, which of course the deep connections we have in this lifetime are not just of this lifetime, they're from many lifetimes. So there's a lot of trying to resolve issues right now with a lot of the Ketu influence and this Kala Sarpa Yoga with all these planets between the nodes. There's also this Saturn-Mars conjunction. They're still very close in the sky. They're only a couple minutes of arc away. Just because they're separating, Mars is moving away from Saturn, they're still very close. So it's quite a bit of intensity, and they're in Libra, where there's a lot of, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're fighting, but there's a lot of issues around how we interact with each other with Mars-Saturn conjunction in Libra. Now the moon has joined it here on Tuesday, August 21st, and then into Wednesday, August 22nd. Then the moon is going to be close to debilitation, and it'll be debilitated over the weekend that's coming up. Not to foreshadow, difficulty, but that's what's coming up. The debilitated moon will have an aspect from Jupiter as well. I'll talk more about that, but the moon is also now here on August 21st. It's joined Mars and Saturn, and then in Libra, then it's going to continue, then it'll be debilitated. So could be a heavy week. It could be some intensity this week for sure with this moon, this Kala Sarpa Yoga, which has us kind of in a fog. If you find yourself like having sort of strange dreams about unresolved things and emotional dreams, and even just a lot of sort of, just feels like there's just a lot of subconscious, unconscious rumbling going on. Again, I hate saying such imprecise things about astrology. I like to be more specific than that, but it's really the nature of the nodes. It's hard to say a lot about the nodes because your relationship with the nodes is so unique, and the nodes actually morph into anything. They actually have a quality of every single house and sign. So the fact, the thing that we can say is that this Kala Sarpa is happening along the Scorpio-Taurus axis, which is really about family as it relates to Taurus, our embedded, entrenched value systems, and Scorpio, which is about the willingness to embrace change and the willingness to, investigate things deeply and really investigate our own emotional vulnerabilities and shortcomings, which is often what prevents us from exacting positive change and, in fact, growing beyond the heritage and the culture of our upbringing. This is kind of the quality of the Scorpio-Taurus axis. Scorpio has all those kind of taboo subjects, which can include things like sex and mysticism and dark arts and things that aren't necessarily approved by the culture or approved by our family, like those taboo subjects that our family told us not to look into. We were cultured a certain way, which is Taurus. This is how you're accepted. You'll be part of the herd if you do this. We all have some of that from our childhood. That's the Taurus paradigm. That this is where you can fit in and be part of the herd and be accepted in this family. And don't explore this stuff, which is Scorpio stuff. So, this is just the kind of quality of the nodes going through this axis, and with this Kala Sarpa yoga in full effect half the time, which means even when the moon is not there, we still have a Kala Sarpa yoga. But now, half the time when the moon is between Taurus and Scorpio, it's in full effect, which it is now. We can experience a lot of this. The other thing is, of course, Mercury is still in Cancer. It's, just trudging along, trying to get out of Cancer, getting out of emotional Cancer. So our thought process, our quality of discrimination, which is Mercury stuff, which is to assess data with discrimination and with neutrality and not through our emotions and through our feelings in the moment, which is what Cancer represents. That faculty is still compromised, if you want to say it that way, because Mercury's in Cancer. Mercury's the part of us that wants to assess things sensibly, and it's still in Cancer where our emotions can overwhelm our sense of, articulating things clearly. As I say, the good example of Mercury in Cancer is how clear do you speak when you're crying, or when you're ecstatic, you're just like, oh, I love you, and you don't really say things very articulate at that point. So, a lot going on. I wanted to make this quick video just because there's a lot happening, and it's kind of easy to just let things go by. For me too, I've just been I've been working hard getting ready for my course, which I just started, my certification course this week. So that's really occupied a lot of my time, but it's also just been like this kind of a lot of things getting conjured up for me around certain things related to family, and even things with my guru and things with the past and deep past life things feel like they are coming up. Especially things that are related to my teachings and my guru and my family. Anyway, I just thought I'd make this quick video and see how these things resonate with you. Leave me a message. Let me know. Leave your thoughts about what you think of this and if it's resonating with you and what is coming up with you in this Kala Sarpa yoga. Perhaps since early July, that's when it really started. If you felt a shift when Jupiter passed Ketu in the sky since early July around these issues, especially as they might relate to family and confronting things that might have to do with being accepted in relation to things that are deep that you like to explore on your own. So leave me a message. Let me know how this works for you.